Let's talk about money. And specifically, the law of compensation, because using the law of compensation will help you get your money right. This is about the law of cause and effect, which simply states that whatever you put out, you get back. And I love the law of compensation because it really sets a lot of things right that I think a lot of people are confused about. I know I certainly was until I learned about the law of compensation. But once you learn it, you can properly apply it to every one of your business affairs. Everything in career and business will be better as a result in your life as a result of learning the law of compensation. So what is the law of compensation? The law of compensation states and decrees that your compensation will always be in direct proportion to three components. Number one, the need for what you do. So this is a supply and demand component, meaning, is there a need for what you do? In the real estate industry, there's not a need for more part-time agents. There's not a need for more mediocre real estate agents. And we would argue that there's only a need for more world-class, full-time fiduciary agents who have the capacity to serve their clients at the highest level. World-class stuff. There's a need for that. There's not a need for others. Is there a need for 5 pizza shops on the same corner or in the same vicinity? Probably not. And you'll recognize that 1 out of those 5 is doing extremely well, and the other ones are probably doing substandard. We could run this down the list of anything that you can think of in the service area or in any area of business that you can even imagine. Is there a need for what you do? Once we have that one out of the way and you found something that there's a need for, number 2 is critically important, and you should focus on this one after you've satisfied the first, which is, how good are you at your craft? How good are you at your craft? Are you mastering your craft? Are you showing up every day looking to improve what you do? Or did you just get the degree? Or did you just get the certificate and put it on the wall and say, that's good. I don't need to improve my skill set. That's the challenge, because you're going to violate number 2 in the law of compensation, because the law of compensation decrees that your compensation is always in direct proportion with the need for what you do. And finally, how good are you at your craft? Are you so good at what you do, in other words, that people can't take their eyes and ears off you? Are you showing up every day the best version of yourself in your business? Are you providing so much value to your clients that there's more of use value than there is in payment return coming back your way? In other words, are you filling up your space? Are you leaving others with the impression of increase, which is better off than you found them? Is there so much value exuding from you with every conversation, every exchange? Do your clients feel like they're better off in every way for having made your acquaintance, for having met you, for having benefited from your service? Our compensation is always going to be in direct proportion to the amount of value we deliver to the marketplace. And of course, this number 2 component is critically important to be able to do that. How good are you at what you do? And number 3, the law of compensation decrees that in order to not violate the law, you must be really difficult to replace. So how difficult is it to replace you? I always refer back to the real estate industry. Of course, I've been in real estate for 20 years. And I think about that a lot because for many agents, they're easy to replace. In other words, the marketplace will not miss them if they were to leave. It'll just kind of absorb if there's anything to absorb, you see, the absence. And so you want to get to a place where you can take care of number 2 so well, which is mastery of craft. You're so good. In fact, you're excellent. How about this? You're stupendous at what you do, so that you've taken care of number 3 automatically. If you were to be so excellent at what you do, stupendous at what you do, how about this? Extraordinary at what you do. That means that you're very difficult to replace. Think about a surgeon who has a specialty. Maybe they're one of very few people who has this specialty, and they save lives. And they do it over and over again. And hardly anybody else can do this very specific surgery. So they're definitely in demand, and they've mastered their craft, and they'd be very difficult to replace. It might take a year or 2 for someone to come along to replace them. Think about someone like Kobe Bryant. Really difficult to replace. And the list goes on and on. Think about people in your industry who are just doing extraordinarily well by their clients, and they do more business than the guy or gal down the street. They've probably, in fact, 100%, I should say, have aligned themselves with the law of compensation, whether or not they know that or not. I'm going to repeat the 3 tenets to the law of compensation so you can sear this into your brain and start to live by it. You can run the filter through any particular job that you can think of. I'll give you one more example before I list the 3. Number 1, or think about the elevator operator. Does this person abide by the law of compensation? Is there a need for what they do? No, there's not. Elevators operate on their own these days. Number 2, the mastery of craft. Does it take any amount of skill to push the button up and down? Not really, right? And number 3 is difficult to replace. Not really. You can find somebody tomorrow. Or how about the person that does... Now, by the way, I'm not diminishing them as people, but rather just running it through the filter of law of compensation to make sure I'm clear on that. How about the person that sells hot dogs, the hot dog vendor, or the popcorn vendor at the ballpark? Not really abiding by all 3 of those, because you can turn around and go get that stuff yourself. You see this? Just continue to run this through different scenarios. You'll come up with the same conclusion. The law of compensation decrees that your compensation, how much you are paid, how much you will be rewarded, cause and effect. What you put out comes back in the form of compensation based on the need for what you do. That's a supply and demand component. Number 2, how good are you at your craft? And finally, number 3, how difficult it is to replace you. You want to get so good, so excellent at what you do that it'd be very difficult to be replaced. The law of compensation, it's one to live by and to bring to your business so that you can make sure that you're compensated in as much as you want to be, whatever satisfies your personal needs and your family's needs.